Jamahal Hill, we took the belt off him. Was it the right move? Jamahal Hill gave the belt back. Whatever you want to do. Was it the right move? And a large part of those circumstances, you go into the interim belt. We did an interim belt the same night. The same night, and it's really kind of the talk of the town, right? Like the interim belt, not only from an achievement standpoint, but from a marketing standpoint, feels almost foolproof. I love it. I have never seen it fail. I mean, if you looked at pay-per-view numbers and you saw what Cyril Gane and Francis Ngannou did, I understand that that is a one-off, but from a marketing standpoint, that was sought after. The media went for it. People put in the request. The shows were willing to run that story. The posters, these guys' bodies. Oh my gosh, these guys look like they were carved out of clay. It had everything. You can't make those guys accept the request. You can't make them do it. I mean, I just maintained for you that it's foolproof. Champion versus champion works. And you know what else works about it? You know what else is so great about it is we don't have to have these discussions. Who should be next? And that's one of the rare spots that we're in with the heavyweights right now is who should be next? Are we going undisputed versus interim like the history says? And the reason I bring up the heavyweights, it's speculated that Jon Jones is going to be out around 10 months, right? And that's a meaningful amount of time. If you look at the heavyweight champion prior to Jon Jones, he was out from March to January. So 10 months. I think it was the higher end of 9. You understand my point? And Tom Aspinall was out in a basketball game. He rolled his ankle. I've never been satisfied. Jamahal Hill, I've never been satisfied on the Jamahal Hill story. And I think he's one of the more interesting and fascinating guys out there. But he could only tell it so many times. If he's doing an interview, he needs to be teed up. The media has not gone after that. The media didn't go after it with Jiri Prochazka, right? You have a heavyweight championship. It's very relevant. One guy is estimated to be out 10 months. Not even a discussion. The guy before him was out 10 months. It was never a discussion of taking the strap off of him. But that was simultaneous. That was at the same time that Jiri Prochazka got hurt and 1 week later had his belt removed. You go into Jamahal Hill, who very good reason he picks up the strap. He picked it up because Prochazka relinquished. It was one of these situations where out of sportsmanship, out of you did for me, let me do back for you. Jamal returns that opportunity and lets the very guy, Jiri Prochazka, I mean, it was very sweet and poetic justice. It was all a very nice thing to do. Was it the right thing to do? Now we're having a discussion of should Alex Pereira wait for Jamahal Hill? I heard that question today. My only response would be, as opposed to what? And before I answer the question, and as much as I like the idea of Hill returning for the championship that he never lost, I feel like that's a more complicated story to tell than if they both just have a belt. Now, I don't know how long Jamal's out. I haven't heard that speculated anywhere. I haven't heard Dr. Abbasi come out and talk about what the injury is and talk about what we can expect and what rehab will look like. If these things have happened, but bring it to mind, I haven't heard them, and I follow this guy. I don't know what's going on here. So it's very hard to make a decision. And it's very relevant. We were told bad information on Prochazka, and I'm not suggesting we were misled. I'm not a conspiracy. Well, either had a miracle or we had a misdiagnosis. The fact of how quiet it was, I would believe we had a misdiagnosis. I don't think that should bring somebody embarrassment. By the way, that's my own opinion. I don't think that. You look at the evidence, you do your job, you compare it to past things that you've seen, you got somebody that heals a little bit faster. I don't see where that would cause embarrassment. Either way, we have never been made whole on that story. That Jiri Prochazka story and having the belt taken off him 7 days later, and then he tried to fix it and say, they didn't take it from me, I gave it back. And either way, they accepted it, right? I don't really care if you pull it off her finger or she threw it at you. I don't really care if you both accepted in your car and went away and there was no tears and no fight, no letters back and forth, and no makeup, dinner, chocolates, and flowers. We're really saying the same thing. And that was in December. By January, Prochazka is on social media saying, I'm ready to fight. February and March, and he's saying, I'm ready to fight. He starts putting out training videos. These weren't just words. He was ready to fight. So how long has he been ready? Prochazka, how long has he been ready, and what was the delay? Was he ever injured in the first place? There is significant circumstantial evidence that he wasn't, and I'm not even going to make you a piece on it because I made you 4, and you guys don't care. For some reason, that isn't the story, but it's now playing out again right in front of us. Right in front of us with Jamal. Like, I can't begin to give you a guess on what Jamal should do. I can't begin to give you a prediction. Should Jamal return and take on Pierre? Of course. It's the championship that he never, of course, he would return into a world title fight, but that's also already been stated. That's not just Chael's opinion. That's what's going to happen. The question is, when is he coming back? Was this a misdiagnosis? Prochazka was said to be the worst injury that we have ever seen. That's a quote. He was ready to go 1 month later. And 1 month was only 21 days. It was 3 weeks. The worst ever. The guy was ready in 3 weeks. Jamal was not said to be the worst injury or anything even remotely close to that. So if I'm basing it off of that, can I expect that he's back in a fast period of time? That isn't science. That's not really all that good of data. But I don't have anything else to go on. When is he going to be back? And then with hindsight being 2020, why is he not the champion? He's doing champion things. There's a way that a champion behaves. And there's a way that champions don't behave. And you can't control them, right? They're the champion. They're the big swinging dick, and they got a bunch of money. They're going to do what they want to do. They get their receipt when they're done. When they are done, they will be spoke about. Anyway, when you talk about legacy, every fighter wants that to be resume. They want it to be so bad, and they think that it is, but nobody knows. Nobody knows. I fought a lot of men. I don't know what my record was. That's not a joke or trying to be funny at all. I do not know. My son's new in wrestling. That's a form of combat. I can't even tell you how attached I am. I don't know how many matches he's had. Not at all trying to be funny. Not a dumb guy. I'm actually a real numbers guy. Nobody knows their records. No fan knows somebody else's record. There's one guy in MMA where you would bet a week's pay that you could produce his record, and it's Khabib because it was 29-0. I bring that to you because every fighter wants so bad their legacy to be about resume. I did this. I won. I defended that thing 6 times. Nobody knows, and it doesn't make a bit of difference. If the fans like you, they will then say nice things about you. That's what your legacy is. 100% is it about it's about your reputation. That's it. And if you don't do things a champion will do because you can get away with it. You can cut the line. You can have your own locker room. You can skip the autograph session. Whatever it might be, you'll get a receipt. And if you're good enough that we can't give it to you in the form of opponent, now that's what we're going to try to do. We're going to try to get you beat up as soon as we don't like you. But if you're so good we can't do it, we'll get you your receipt. We'll just wait till you're done. And then we'll remember you in a different way than you would like. We've had people do this. We've had big stars, high paid, all this wonderful stuff. And the moment they're done, they don't ever come back to an event. They don't ever say hello to a fan. They don't ever go out of their way to make somebody's day that helped them to get there. And they don't return it to the fighters that are still left behind. It's very relevant when you come back to an event. Like, I don't just mean that you got to park your ass in the front row and do a great job like, say, the Diaz boys who are always giving back. You don't have to do that. It's an expression returned to the event. You want somebody great at giving back, and his legacy will reflect it. He's the biggest draw in the entire sport, and I don't know the last time that he won a fight. Conor McGregor. But he will stay in contact with you constantly. Israel Adesanya. But he will stay in contact with you. That's called going to the event. Conor wasn't at the show. Israel wasn't actually at the show. They were involved. They were involved nonstop. Meanwhile, you have a champion who was supposed to be on the card that didn't show up. His opponent did. And then you have another champion also dealing with an injury who couldn't be on the card. And that's Jamahal Hill, and he was at the show. He was in a riot. He was filming the whole thing. He had stuff to say. He had opinions to have. He had a crowd to put on. He had people to call out in 2 different divisions. He didn't give an F. His job is to entertain, and he showed up and he entertained. It's different. He's going to have a different legacy moving forward, the way that he'll be talked about, the way that he'll be remembered. And I like the idea, right? Because it's all marketing. I'm just talking about from a marketing standpoint. That's the only reason. That's the only question I'm asking you right now. Are we better off to have Jamal as the champion and have Pierre as an interim champion? Right now, as we go into this fight, and to give us all a little bit of clarity. Or, and you have to remember this, because there's guys that have tried to break this rule, right? And God bless them. The first guy to do it was Matt Hughes. And I'm not convinced Matt Hughes worked on his own. I think Mike Goldberg was a co-conspirator. But each time Matt would defend a championship and win, he would then add a world championship. If he showed up and he was a world champion and he's a 2-time world champion, then he was a 3-time world champion. And there's definitely something that you should get for doing that, but you don't get to change the vernacular. You cannot win a second championship until you lost in the first place. You can relinquish it. It can be a drug test. There's a lot of ways that you cannot have it, but you cannot be a 2-time champion if you didn't lose it in the first place. That part, from a marketing standpoint, I like for Jamal. Jamal will return not only to pick up the belt that he never lost, he will return for a very rare heir. A Jon Jones, a Daniel Cormier-esque, a second light heavyweight championship. I like that side of it. But I still don't have enough information, and I don't know why. I don't know why you guys don't care about the Prochazka story. I just don't know. I've had a few of these. Lumps in the punch bowl. One of the great stories of all of last year, one of the greats, maybe one of the hottest if I was to predict, was Charles Oliveira having the belt taken off of him because he missed weight. That was a lawsuit waiting to happen. The jurisdiction on that, not one person anywhere ever read the bylaw within the state of Arizona that oversight to this day. I thought that was a red hot story. We had an executive director on the East Coast face attorney general investigation for 7 years. It's never come out. And that's a public agency. Like, there's something that I just miss that I think you'll really care about. Prochazka had the belt taken off him. You guys want to say he gave it back. It doesn't matter. It's the worst injury ever. Or was it? I think it's a big deal. I get it wrong. Jamal is doing everything right. Everybody wants to see him fight. He was in a riot that he filmed over the weekend that, if you go and check the clicks, did more views than any interview of a fight that was held inside the garden that he was sitting outside of. That's interesting stuff. He's apparently going to return. Got an ankle injury. How bad's the injury? What was it? When can we expect him to return? I would think that these would be follow-up questions. But when a person had a chance to interview him, they asked him, how'd you get stuck in the riot?